Hey guys, e.t.c is one of my favorite heroes for tanking in Storm League, and I've mentioned him a few times. I actually ended off last season with, I believe, a 75 or 80% win rate with e.t.c. And a lot of people have asked me, like, how did I get such a high win rate on e.t.c? And I wanted to kind of share that there's two really underrated talents on e.t.c, and then I'll explain the playstyle. The first underrated talent is Block Party. Now, in my honest opinion, this talent is still very situational. I only go this talent when more than half their damage is basic attacks. And I try to, I mean, even if it's 40% of their damage is basic attacks, because you reduce it by such a huge percentage. So in this case, Imperius does a lot of basic attack damage, Greymane does a lot of basic attack damage, as well as even Junkrat does a decent amount of basic attack damage. So Block Party can reduce all of my damage by, or all of their damage by a good amount. And it could be almost game-changing, too. If they draft too much physical damage and you go Block Party, there's almost no way that they can kill you. Now, their team does still have a lot of other damage. Imperius, for example, has a lot of damage. Sorry for the visual bug. They're all alive right now. But Imperius does have a lot of damage there, as well as Junkrat has a lot of magic damage. And Greymane's cocktails, of course, are magic damage. His ults are magic damage. But still, you kind of get the idea of, or spell damage, not magic damage. You kind of get the idea. Either way, it's a very, very powerful talent. So how it works is you give your team one block charge every time that your ability that you're casting ends near them, or at least is started near them. It's kind of weird because your E, it's where it starts. Your Q is where it ends. So there you go. Either way. So that's essentially the first talent. The next thing I want to talk about on e.t.c is the playstyle. If you're going to notice something really quickly, I don't slide a lot, and I don't use my W a lot. I primarily just use my E off cooldown, and I auto-attack things, or I just walk away. And it's for a really, really important reason. I see too many e.t.cs that when they slide, they're sliding away from their team, and then they're dying alone. And remember that your slide's also your escape. So you need to use it as an engage, but you also use it as an escape. Why did I not slide in on those two targets? Because I would be sliding into their tower range, I'd be sliding away from my team, and I would be losing my escape, which they would then polymorph me and kill me very, very quickly. Too many e.t.cs would have taken that slide right there. And throughout this game, you're going to notice that I play rather passively on e.t.c, but at the same time, we don't really ever throw. And this season, I feel like is Game of Throws, honestly. I feel like if you are playing anything but a tank, there's a good chance that your team is going to throw at some point, unless you know your tank player and your tank player is good. Whenever I play assassins or mages, I feel like I get ahead in the game very quickly. We get 2 or 3 level leads by level 10, by level 11, and then my tank just goes in and dies. When I play tank, I feel like we usually start out behind, and then the enemies just eventually throw and we come out ahead. And it's just been kind of like that almost the entire time. I've been playing supports here and there, but it's kind of the same thing. I feel like assassins, like you can play to get ahead. Tanks, you can play to stop the enemies from throwing. But in general, it's Game of Throws this season. Anyways, this game is actually relatively higher in rank. Lynn's a Grandmaster player, and then myself, I believe I'm still Diamond at this point. So I last season I placed Plat, got all the way up to Masters. This season I placed Mid Diamond, so I'm moving up. But either way, so right here is a pretty decent example of a good slide. The enemies are split; they're away from their team. Our team is close enough if we do decide to fight this. I can also body block for a while because it's a very small zone in here. So it's a pretty decent slide. But 90% of the slides you're going to see, for me, are slides onto people that are already being attacked by my team. Because that means that I'm just getting a really long stun on someone that my team's already attacking. If you're ever attacking a bot and the bot just stops moving, like this is a great example right here. He was sitting right here in abilities. I could have slid over here, but that would have put me in a bad position, and he would have been able to walk right away. Not just that, it would have knocked him out of the abilities if I would have used my face melt. So instead, I start off by body blocking. We get some damage off, and then I slide. Right as I realize that my team's attacking that target, I slide. I wait a second before I use my W so that I get the full duration of the stun off, while my team's ready to go, and then I'll knock them closer to my team, and we can continue attacking him. That's pretty much how you get the most successful slides on ETCs. You always slide when your team's already attacking someone. Then you wait a second before you're using your W so that your team can land whatever abilities they want to land. Then you can follow up with whatever else you want to follow up with. So when I'm talking about talents that I just love, neither Block Party nor Mic Check are very underrated in the sense of they're used a lot in competitive. My only concern is that when I've been coaching ETCs lately, I can't tell you how common it is for people to go Guitar Hero at level 1 followed by going Face Melt at level 13. Which I guess is an option. If you're not main tanking, it's certainly an option that you can do. As like you're in the solo lane, you can sit there and auto attack whoever you're solo laning against. But at the same time, I'm like, I just don't think it's really. I don't think that's really what you're going to be wanting to do. Especially if you're main tanking as e.t.c, which I think most people are. So again, I slide on a target that my team's already attacking. I wait a second to boop him into the tower range one more time, and then we have Lucio who also boops him back into tower range. I give my team some armor here and block off some damage that the Greymaine's doing. And you can see, based off the damage that I'm blocking, if we look at damage taken, I'm actually behind all of the enemy bruisers and tanks. Because I'm mitigating so much of the damage that I'm taking, and I'm only going into fights that the enemies are going to be CC'd during the fights. This time we're going for our turn-in, and we should be able to get our turn-in here. Whenever you get early turn-ins, the best thing that you can do is try to push out lanes, because if you can push out lanes quickly, then there's less decay on the effect of your objective. And what I mean by that is, if your objective spawns somewhere around here, then it's going to decay health as it gets over to the enemy structures. But if yours spawns right here, then it's going to be full health when it actually gets over here, and it'll be really good. But as you can see, the objective does decay health even when it's not being attacked, or even when it's being attacked. Like, it does decay health. Right here, this objective is not being attacked, and you can see its health is going down. There is a natural decay from these objectives, and you want to make sure that you are not having to deal with that decay. My positioning is in an area where I don't get hit by the same abilities that my team gets hit by. You see that I always try to stay relatively away from my team so that whatever's thrown at my team isn't going to be hitting myself as well. If you do have the talent Pinball Wizard, you can do a decent burst to people that are low health, and they're going to immediately try to run away. And I only get close to my team so I can guitar solo, but he's low enough health that I can blow him up by myself with just a Q, W, and auto attack. So we take out the enemy Greymane, and we should also be able to take out this Imperious unless something crazy happens here. He does pop his ult, and we do get a knockback, but we are able to take him out. Taking out 2 to 3 people here is a great time to go for an enemy camp. Unfortunately, the KT does not follow us here, so we do this camp extremely slow. Because we also don't have Merc Queen, we don't have anything else. She's out of mana. So while it was initially a pretty good call, this is going to be very risky. So I wanted to show you guys something pretty easy that you can do with e.t.c. when you're trying to stop the enemies from going to a point. Just go for a straightforward mosh pit. Not only can you stop the enemies that are trying to go for this, but what a lot of people don't know is that Mosh does actually hit tires. Despite the fact that that little tire does not have a dance animation, which it really should, because it can get moshed. It's a great tool to do. Now, I did this just so we could get the camp and get my team out alive, but it was kind enough for my team to come back, kill the tire, as well as giving me some movement speed. So when I actually slide and then knock the enemy away, I can walk away from this. Between the slide and the knockback, my extra armor that I got from Block Party was allowing me to stay alive so that the Greymane was not able to kill me. And you'll see multiple times this game where the Block Party is enough to save a teammate, it's enough to save an ally. In fact, I've already probably saved a lot of damage from Imperious as well as Greymane multiple times. But as we start approaching level 13, I'm going to focus heavily on explaining the value of Mic Check and why it's such an amazing talent against so many enemy teams, especially when the enemy teams are heavy bruisers. So again, I use a slide there. Just know that if you ever slide and you're around objects, you will take a longer path and you'll be stopped before your queue's actual length, because you only always slide the same distance. But if you slide against a wall, your character will try to move around it. And so you end up sliding a lower distance. Anyways, we go for a turn in. We get interrupted by Brightwing, and you don't usually want to hang out here too long, because if Brightwing continues to interrupt, Brightwing gets extra healing from this and extra bribe stacks. Right here, we get hit by another Gorge, so I decide a turn-in's more important than trying to save an Arthas that got gorged. So, actually, Lucio dies trying to save Arthas, does end up saving Arthas, but I don't like having a whole bunch of people die trying to save someone who gets gorged, especially when gorge isn't that big of a deal. But here's again, how you try to save your team with tires, honestly, is you try to just use your CCs enough. If that tire was any closer, that actually would have killed that Kael'thas. This next objective isn't really that valuable, but it does prevent them from pushing hard after getting a couple kills. And so normally what I say on this map is if you get a double turn in, you can pretty much get such value that the enemies will never be able to come back. In this case, we lost a couple people before the double turn in, so it didn't get a lot of value. So we're going to try to push for a triple turn in here, just preventing them from getting a turn in. Again, this is another example where I am using my... So firstly, I don't slide immediately, even though my team is attacking them. Because if I slid immediately, I would end up right here, and he would just walk up this way, and he'd be perfectly fine. I want to reposition to where I can end up here at the end of the slide, so that I'll be able to prevent him from getting away. I don't use my W because I want Kael'thas' abilities to land first. Now, I do believe he would have gotten away from his Q, and then we get away. And I honestly have no idea how this guy survives. I'm guessing... Oh, he got Z'd on from the Brightwing, and then Brightwing also gave the spell armor. That makes sense now. Slide in here, do a quick mosh. You only really need to have a mosh last for about a second or two for you to get enough value to kill everyone. So even against teams that have a lot of ways to interrupt it, it doesn't really matter, because right here, for example, I got my mosh long enough to where we still were able to get a kill. Arthas got gorged again, so we're just going to let Arthas go. The extra block chance that I had right there kept us all alive against the Imperius, and we're going to be able to just go top lane and push this out a little bit. Need to be a little bit cautious because the enemies are still up. Greymane's the only one dead, so they could easily flank right here. So I immediately start off by a stun, hoping that we would be able to get far enough away that he couldn't land a hook. And I used a W there to kind of prevent them from doing anything major. I also may step back in and use a W just to prevent anything else, but it looks like we won't need to worry about that. I am a little worried here that they might go for boss, so I decide instead of backing, I might stay for a little bit. But I think with Lucio hanging out, and I see two people mid, one person bot, I decide to end up just hanging out. So right here, I knocked them into my team the first time. My next W is up, and they're chasing into my team. I use my next W to knock them away. And look how easy that was. If you ever pick up loudspeakers and mic check, and you're going against a team like this, look at what they did. They fired Bullet already. They fired their the Angelic Armaments. They literally used everything to try to get up to us. I press 1W, and their entire engage is turned off. Which is the greatest part about e.t.c. is one of the easiest peels for against melee teams that you've ever seen. Then you can slide and knock them into your team, as well as knocking Stitches away, allowing us to get a kill. My cooldowns are still low, so even though we're all low at this portion of the fight, I can always just knock the enemies away. But we decide to actually go into this fight, and I give everyone some armor so Greymane can't kill anyone. I see that they're still chasing here. I wait for a couple of these bombs to go off first, and then I can go help my team out just a little bit. But because Gorge was used, I don't like saving people from Gorge, honestly. I feel like it either barely works, and a lot of times they get more kills from it. So I usually just don't like using it. So right there, I waited on using my W until I was near the wall, as the wall helps you reset your W. Because you only need to hit 2 targets. It doesn't need to be 2 enemies. It doesn't need to be 2 enemy minions. It doesn't need to be 2 heroes. It doesn't matter. It's just 2 targets. So I knock them back once while using the wall to reset my cooldowns. And then once again, I can move back in here to knock back the tire. But if I knock back just the tire, I unfortunately will not get my cooldown. And we do end up losing our hero. So again, if we didn't try to save them from Gorge, we actually would have been okay. Now here, I need to prevent them from getting boss. So I grab a fountain, and I realize that they are going to be in this boss range. And I just need to play this kind of safe. I need to make sure that I still have my Q for escape, so I'm only going to be using my E and my W to try to prevent this. I didn't realize that there was a trap, that he got the traps that follow you around. So I wasn't going to actually walk into the bush here, and I ended up still getting rooted. I am able to get out because I had that extra block charges from my, again, block party, so Greymane was not able to kill me. I then slide away here, and we have Sylvanas taking out their main boss clear. Without their main boss clear, it's pretty obvious they can't go for boss. So I'm simply going to just walk away, use my heal, and try to get myself back up to full by utilizing this this Lucio who showed up as well. I'm going to check the bushes just to make sure that they're not, like, lingering. But we see 3 people mid, so we don't really need to worry about this anymore. So we have gotten a double turn-in against the enemies. We do want to get one more turn-in before they do, but they do have enough stuff. So for the next portion of this, we're going to just do our best to try to prevent them from getting another turn-in. So we're just going to check both of these areas. I would like to mount up in between fights. Yes, with the new movement speed changes, you can get lane to lane on this map without mounting, and you're good. I do a quick mosh right here, and again, it doesn't matter if you get interrupted, as long as you can get enough damage off on their team. Then I simply use a W to knock the Greymane away, and then I slide to get away even further. My extra armor kept me alive, and it's pretty straightforward for us to take out this game. Now, we've got level 16s on the enemies, and we are still pretty far from getting a turn-in, but we are getting some kills on them, making sure that they're prevented from getting any extra turn-ins. I do like going Showstopper at 16, but don't get me wrong, I think Imposing Presence is extremely underrated, especially if you're going against teams that have so much auto attack. For example, Imperius, if you slow down his auto attack, you're also slowing down his healing, you're slowing down his percent health damage, you're slowing down his magic damage, you're slowing down so much on Imperius. So looking back on this game, I think I probably would have gone Imposing Presence if I really thought it through. But I like Showstopper when I go Mosh, and I almost always take it with Mosh because I like to where I can go in Mosh and then I've got that extra armor that lasts longer. There's a gorge that happens right here, and these fights like this are pretty easy. As long as you don't lose someone to gorge, Stitches kind of sucks. Like, his team fight is really, really bad without taking Bile, because you have absolutely no CC after, like, a slow on your W and an interrupt on your Q, but other than that, you've got no CC. All you are is a really big health bar, and that's it. So after that, I'm like, you know what? We're going to take this fight, and it's going to be pretty easy to win, because all I have to do is give a little bit of armor whenever the Imperius or Greymane tries to do damage, and we're good. Right here, I go up, I give some armor to people. I see the enemies getting out of position. I also get sent in. And then slide through, I give myself some armor, I give my team some armor. Then Imperius isn't doing any damage to us right here. Literally couldn't even get through any of our health. Couldn't even out-damage the Lucio's healing because of that extra block charges that we gave. I give some more block charges to my team. I realize that the enemies all got clustered, and if I would have slid for that, I would have gotten in tower range and I would have died. So there's a lot of like mistake slides that people would make in lower ranks, and this is kind of the issue with e.t.c. You've got a rather squishy tank, and if people slide in at bad times, they're going to die. And I think that's the biggest thing that I find on e.t.c.s is too many people slide in at bad times and end up just dying. So we get, again, our turn-ins. We're just trying to get closer and closer so we can get that triple turn-in. And again, double turn-in's a ton of value on this map, but triple turn-in is game-ending. And the only way to really answer triple turn-ins or double turn-ins is if you have something like a Ragnaros who can just stop. He can trait middle, and then he can press Lava Wave in another lane and pretty much stop an entire turn-in process every single time that a turn-in goes through. So unless they've got something like that, which the best they have is like a Greymane who can clear up camps pretty quickly, or the objective pretty quickly. But anyways, we have enough to get that triple turn-in. Now we just need to make sure that they don't get a crazy Gorge here. Now the cool part about destroying the enemy's structures is Gorge gets less value. Because if he gorges someone here, we can easily deal with it. It's a really good option to, again, quickly use my W to take someone out. I want to get away from the bombs that I just killed that Junkrat from. But at the same time, we don't really want to be chasing too much. We do have a free turn-in at any point. So I just want to get away from the chasing traps and then go and take this turn-in. And now we have that triple turn that we wanted. Once again, we want to be pushing out lanes. So I tell people to get away from bottom lane because I want to have everyone push top lane. Top lane's really valuable because it is boss lane. If you get a good boss, it's game ending. So we want to make sure that we have boss lane available. And so you can see that we're trying to push out top lane before the thing spawns. So now instead of it stopping right there, which if we didn't kill that wave, it would have stopped right there. Now it's going to stop closer to over here where the next wave is. Because it always stops at the first minion wave. In this case, I stop a little bit to type out something really quick for my team. I will tell you right now, it had nothing to do with strategy. It was a really dumb pun, and I don't want to reveal chat to say what that really dumb pun was. So we're just going to continue on. We're going to see if we can stop that tire a little bit, but honestly, I pressed my W too late, and he ends up jumping over the CC. And once we get the top, I decide to play safe. Again, a bad e.t.c. might have tried to get a mosh right there. The problem is we had no reward from that fight. Even in the perfect scenario and we mosh everyone, which most likely it wouldn't have been a perfect scenario, Stitches just walks up and hooks me. Most likely before we actually die. Or before anyone actually dies. Because my team wasn't really sure about going to that anyway. So now, I had this plan where I thought they would think that we were going to boss, so they would turn in while we were at boss. But in reality, they don't end up doing that. So... And this is another thing, if you're ever trying to carry in low ranks, or even mid ranks, making these quick plans are a great way for you to like push your advantage even further. So we don't have that big of an advantage. We have a big structure advantage, but we're only ahead by a level, and we're only ahead by 2 kills. The only reason we're ahead at all is because of the structures. But if we could have gotten a couple kills there, because most of the time that's what happens in high ranks, is like, if it's for sure that the enemies are going for boss and you can't contest, then you just go for a turn-in, so at least you have like things pressuring other lanes. And in this case, they didn't go for that. So we would have actually been able to get a boss for free if we would have gone for boss, because they just stayed in lanes. And they wouldn't have even gotten a turn-in, so we would have been able to get a boss and more. And these stupid traps are so annoying. I'm trying to tell my team that I'm heading down there and I'm going to help them out. But I hit like 100 traps on the way there. So as much utility as I can bring to the team, if I can't get to the team because there's a million traps in the way, then it doesn't matter. I do make a lot of really dumb decisions for the next portion of this, and I will just blatantly admit that these were a lot of misplays. And I'll call them out. Like, I'm not shy to pointing out when I make mistakes. So we really just don't want them to turn in, but I decided that I want to like force a fight, even though they are level 20s now. I wanted to force a fight pre-20. When they hit 20s, I realized that they were all clustered and I could maybe go for a mosh. I realized that wasn't going to work because I got hit by a million traps. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go for this. Instead, I'm just going to watch and see who gets gorged, and we're going to still prevent them from turning in. As long as we can prevent them from turning in, we're going to be okay. Really, there are only 2 ways of winning this game, is to gorge someone, get a kill, and take a boss and a turn in, and then they can win the game. But if they don't get that, they would have to just stall out the game and get multiple turn-ins to win. So what we want to be doing here is we want to prevent a turn-in down at bot lane, and then we want them to try to split up. In this case, I solo moshed the Stitches because I thought we could just kill him before the mosh ended. But the enemy team ended up showing up, and I over-chased way too much onto this Stitches when I could have just gone back here, given some armor to my team, prevented Imperius from doing a lot. Then we would have killed Imperius for free and then been fine. In this case, I end up getting gorged. And we don't really get a lot of value from this. In fact, I don't try to get out from the top because we already took that. When I realized I'm going to take too much damage over time from the Stitches, I decided to just use my death metal. Now, it is the first time that I've died this game, and one of the things that you might be noticing on e.t.c. is I play a rather safe e.t.c. I only slide in while I'm near my team. I don't try to go for any major crazy moshes. I try to take more calculated moshes when people have already used a lot of their abilities, or I'll take moshes on solo heroes so that we can get those kills. And so I don't usually die as much as many other e.t.c.s. Now, the enemies do get their turn in, but in this case, we distracted them long enough that my team was able to get a couple kills. And now, again, this was a 100% misplay. I am not saying that my distraction led to anything major. We would have gotten those kills if I would have stayed with my team, and then I would have stayed alive. So this is kind of a big issue a lot of times with people, is they have results-oriented thinking. Just because something works doesn't mean that that was the right call. Right here, again, I slide. This time I don't actually mosh, though, which this time the mosh probably would have turned into a kill, so it would have been a little bit better, but I'm honestly like, you know what? No, I just want to give everyone armor and try to prevent as much damage as possible. I do get a nice slide in there. I could have moshed there, but I didn't want to die to the bombs that were dropped from the Junkrat. And so right here, I'm pretty much just doing what I can to keep my team alive and try to pick out any kills here whenever I see an opportunity. I might go here and mosh, but again, apparently I didn't mosh right there. It would have been another time to just mosh one person, possibly get a kill. I do get Gorge, which is going to lead me to die here, but that's okay. We need to look at who's left on this team to see if there's any way we can end this. I do a quick mosh right here. We don't get anything, but actually we do get a kill there, but I, again, might have been able to get that without the mosh. But again, I don't really shy away from doing solo moshes. And it looks like we do end out the game right there. So you see the value of mic check. You see the value of block party. I saved myself 3 or 4 times with block party. Saved my team 3 or 4 times with mic check. I go mosh even if the enemies have a bunch of interrupts. I go stage dive on large maps, or if I really don't think I'm ever going to land a mosh because they have a lot of like easy interrupts, things that might accidentally interrupt, then I'll go stage dive. And my build shifts around. My 16 talents, I pick all 3 of these. I think they're all really good. My level 20, I will sometimes pick Bolt if I go Mosh. If I'm with really coordinated teams, it'll follow up a Bolt Mosh. But otherwise, I almost always go Death Metal because it's uninterruptible Mosh Pit. And that is it, guys. This is how I play e.t.c. Those are some of my 2 favorite talents and the reasons why. Thank you guys so much for watching, and feel free to check out my other videos.